Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles episode review. This is obviously for the Nickelodeon show, and it's going to be for Season 2, Episode 13 and 14. They are together, or at least are online together. Episode title is either Wormquake or The Manhattan Project. Nick.com, where the episode's available, hasn't aired on TV yet, has it up as Wormquake. While I think iTunes has it listed as the Manhattan Project, so it's either or. It seems to be the mid-season finale because it's a two-parter episode, and overall I really enjoyed these two episodes because it did what I've kind of been asking the show to do for a while now, and that's focus on one or both of the kind of important issues that have been set up, important plot character points. While they haven't fully addressed the whole April being a mutant thing, they've still left that out there. They finally have gone back to the whole Karai is actually Miwa, so she is Splinter's daughter and thus the Turtles' sister, basically, more or less. They finally addressed that. Basically addressed it by having it come back in the next episode she appears in, which is this time around. So straight away I saw Miwa and Karai early on in the episode, and I was just like, this is going to be a good one, because when they focus on those characters, your Shredder, your Karai, April, Splinter, usually it's a good episode, and in this case we got a lot of those characters, and we also got some nice stuff with some of the turtles as well, which I liked. But primarily, Splinter, Karai, Shredder to some extent, and even this new character, Tiger Claw, big focuses in the episode. They covered a lot in these two episodes, and I really appreciated that. It's to the point where I'm kind of struggling to just remember everything that happened in the two episodes, compared to, say, even the episode I reviewed earlier on today, where there was basically 2-3 key points. This one has a lot more. In terms of the plot, the whole idea of these worms, space worms, or I can't remember the exact name for them, pretty hard to pronounce to even make fun of that in the show, but these worms as being the things that basically make the mutagen, it's like Krang milk or something like that, was a really cool idea. Just that it wasn't made in Dimension X, it's just naturally produced by an animal in Dimension X. Really cool idea for the stuff, and definitely adds to the whole, I suppose, lore, mythology around the Krang that they found. They obviously, through experimenting on their own animals, they found out about this sort of stuff, and that was a nice reveal for the series, even if it, I suppose, didn't mean a lot to the story, like finding out that it's actually a kind of natural product on Dimension X and not mass produced. But either way, it shows that they're trying to perfect that mutagen on Earth, but if they bring them here, isn't it the mutagen that they want? There's some confusing stuff going on with regards to does bringing them into onto Earth, change the formula for the mutagen that's produced by them or something? I'm not sure. There's still a good bit to be explained, but this episode did a good job at setting up a lot of stuff. The space worms were interesting, creating earthquakes, which is how everyone was alerted to them. And yeah, from there, the main plot was that Shredder finally returned from Japan, which has been this massive 10 episode trip at this stage, so it was nice to see him come back. And he brings back basically Asia's greatest assassin, Tiger Claw, this tiger mutant who is a really cool kind of bounty hunter-esque guy. That perfectly proven as being the best way to describe him when he gets Boba Fetted in the end, getting eaten by the worm-like creature at the end because of a jetpack malfunction. So completely got the Boba Fett death here. Awesome bounty hunter guy gets killed presumably because his backpack malfunctions. That was one of the probably funniest moments in the show ever, and it kind of, I think it was definitely a reference to Boba Fett, and I laughed because of that, but it was kind of in a really dramatic moment in the show, so it was nice. But that character was really cool. He he had guns and a sword, but primarily focused on the guns. And then when they weren't working, he switched to the sword. That was really cool. And at least against the turtles, he was fighting really well, and he was even with Splinter for a while. A lot of good fights in this episode as well. And then Splinter gradually gets the better of him and starts absolutely destroying him until obviously Karai makes her appearance. And that's where a lot of stuff came into play here. Leo started to want to tell Karai about the fact that he knows, not the other turtles, they're eventually told. He starts to tell her that Shredder's not your father, Splinter is. And because it's coming from the heroes, and because she's been having doubts with Shredder, he's been very harsh with her. He hasn't been telling her the truth about all of these things. He's been acting differently around Splinter. She's beginning to believe it, and it's a really interesting character arc for her, where it's not that like you're annoyed because she's suddenly turning. It makes complete sense because she's losing faith with her fake father, who she thinks is her real father, and starting to see that this guy is honorable, and this is kind of what the way I really think like I know from myself. And so she begins to kind of relate to him and the turtles, and especially that scene at the end where she presumably falls to her death, but then seconds later she's seen hiding behind the billboard. Leo notices her, and they just keep talking there. They have a kind of just family moment between everyone, and she stays and listens. And just, I suppose it's one of those moments where, because they're not like aware that she's there fully, and they're still talking about it, I hope she'll realize the truth sooner rather than later. It wasn't in the heat of battle to try and get her to turn the tides in their favor. She really is beginning to believe it. So that's done wonders for Karai as a character. That is a big thing they've done there, because the next time we see Karai, she's not just going to be slightly doubting Shredder and maybe beginning to turn and join the Turtles. She's a huge way there, huge steps forward in that. So I still think they'll keep it going, like a few episodes that Karai is in forward, but I think there's a long while left. No, I think that this was a good like step forward in that story. That was really nice. And I suppose they also played up the whole Raph Leo Karai angle as well, where those are the two that have like issues with her, dealings with her as well. Splinter and Shredder had a second fight, but Splinter was obviously still suffering from the effects of the poison, and yeah, just Shredder, I mean, having to kind of like compromise his commanding position to like appease his daughter and keep her on his side. That was cool. And then it's moments like the fact that this Tiger Claw comes in, he's instantly made second in command, and she's demoted when she hasn't done that much wrong. That was another kind of nail in the coffin for her turning sides. But that's yet to happen yet. One of the key points in the episode is also the split that happens between the main characters. Donnie, April, and Casey are split from Raph, Leo, and Mikey. And the choice to have Donnie and those two separated is really good, because it allows you to develop that love triangle a little bit. I suppose that was one maybe minor negative for the episode, apart from like one moment where Donnie's jealous of Casey and one moment where Casey's jealous of Donnie. You don't have the love triangle advance too much either way. In many ways, what this episode was the episode to kind of take the jealousy out of the equation, just at the end where like Casey admits that Donnie, you're good, and then when Casey was got by the worm thing, Donnie saw that Casey was, good too and wanted to save him. It wasn't just, I'll let him go because I'm jealous of him. They kind of got over it in the middle of the battle. But the love triangle, actually, April liking either of them more, wasn't really done much more with. Nor was April's real being a half mutant address. Like, because she's so apparently important to the Krang, she's the result of millennia of genetic engineering of humans. The fact that they constantly encounter her in the fights and don't make any sort of note to go, okay, this is the girl we're looking for, try and capture her specifically and focus on her, is a bit jarring in some of these episodes, and that she's apparently the most important thing ever for the Krang right now, and they just focus on defeating everyone. Just kind of wonder what their goals are. We did get a little bit of kind of April's psychic powers that apparently have developed here as well. She uses to sense some stuff as well, so that was fine. But overall, yeah, that was a kind of solid plot. Those were the people who kind of took down the worms, while the other side of the story dealt with the whole Shredder, Karai, and Tiger Claw stuff. Um, which I suppose is another positive about the episode. It had two plots that were really interesting. The episodes of late have only had one plot, and even that hasn't been too interesting in some of the recent episodes. But this had two ones that were really well done, and I'm just, I think they should be able to do this. The show is kind of good enough. It's got characters that are good enough to do something more like this in episodes that aren't big two-parters in the middle of a season. I feel they should be doing important stuff in every episode. Obviously, the episode before this two-parter did that kind of with Splinter, who has really come into his own as a character of late with these two episodes with a lot of focus on him. But yeah, one of the other things to mention would be the whole reference to the original Turtles show when they're in the kind of warp station that's not in where they get to choose what dimension they go to. They look in and they see the 1980 whatever show universe, and they make a little joke about that. Donnie thinks they all look silly, and Mikey thinks they all look silly, and Donnie likes the April there too. So that was pretty fun. And then they had the scene at the end where the dimension they send the worm to is, of course, where the other turtles are, and they end with those. That was a nice reference to have. I'm glad they didn't spend too much time on it. It was just a reference, and I like that. What else? There's so much to this episode, but at the same time I'm wondering, have I almost touched on everything right now? Leo kind of being blamed by Raph again for making the decision. I felt that was a little bit forced in the middle of this episode. Like, oh, they have to keep this going, even though how many times has this happened where Raph's angry at what the decision Leonardo makes with his leadership, and then at the end of the episode comes to realize that Leo made the right decision and won't be angry at him anymore, and then the next episode he just does it again. That's a bit annoying that they actually have. So they've had probably 3-4 episodes where that's actually happened, and he still does it every single time. That's a little character moment I think they need to improve on, keeping the continuity between episodes, and this happened, so this can't happen again. And in this case, Leo made the right decision. Have Mikey die there and then, or wait for Splinter to arrive and possibly manage to get out because they know how skilled he is. Tons of action in the episode, which was again good. Lot of nice stuff. A lot of slow-mo shots and stuff like that, and just some really kind of epic moments as well. Near the end of the episode, you get that kind of 4-on-4 fight. It's the Turtles minus Donnie, and with Splinter versus Razor, Fishface, Tiger Claw, and Karai. It was a real kind of hero versus villains battle, which I enjoyed. And then, what else is there to talk about in the episode? If I don't touch on any points, just comment below and I'll give you my thoughts in the YouTube comments. It's a lot to cover these two episodes here. I suppose if there's maybe one negative, it's just this was a big two-parter. The first time we've had a two-parter this season, I think, unless I'm misremembering the first two episodes. Nothing really huge is kind of coming out of it. This plan from the Krang bringing the worms there was set up as being huge, but in the end, was there any big reveal to it? That's what I'm kind of wondering about. And I can see it being like the season 1 finale, where all these little tiny points come together in the last few episodes and makes an interesting point, but I feel they should explain it a little bit more over now. We got to see Kurtzman again, Agent Kurtzman, revealing that his name was Jack Kurtzman, so that's a nice kind of cameo appearance from him. And overall, I think I've touched on every part of the episode more or less. As I said, comment below if I missed out on any big glaring obvious points. A lot to get through my mind. This was a packed episode. I really did enjoy this one. So yeah, really happy that I kind of just got these surprise 2 episodes. I had no idea they were out online. Then I just checked Twitter and someone alerted me to this fact, and I was just like, what? Well, 3 episodes I get to watch and review today. That's really cool. But yeah, good episode. Thanks for watching, and bye.